So this is Purcell. What we're doing is really taking a fresh look at the things we buy every single day, how we're moving them, how we're buying them, how we're selling them, and trying to really do business more efficiently in retail. I'm really hoping this video works. So this will help make sense what the product actually does. So see, this is a soap detergent dispenser. As this dispenses, the major key is what we own, the technology on that, actually tracking the weight and price of the product dispensed. That's important to understand our revenue model as well. So as soon as you take a product, you're ready for checkout. There's no more tearing, there's no more hassle attached with shopping package free. So let's kind of gain a little understanding of kind of the market where we're playing. So we're looking at primarily grocery retail, online fulfillment, pet stores, meal kit, campus, and we've operated in all these spaces so far except the last two. So how is business done? So the things we buy every day are predominantly pre-packaged, and when you consider this from a retailer's perspective, everything in a grocery store has to be stocked, faced, rotated, inventoried, and this means touched 3 times a day by store employees. So if you were to ask a retailer or just Google it, what's the top item on a P&L statement, it's labor, right, every single time. And so that's because of prepackaged products. So we basically, we'll get to it later, reduce labor by about 80%, increase margins on sales by 2x, a lot of other great points. So we do that by integrating into this hyper-efficient supply chain. Kind of the closest parallel I can draw to this is IKEA furniture. So they kind of popularized flat pack, streamlined supply chains, and store operations, and they own that industry. We're really applying those same fundamentals to, instead of things we're buying every 5 to 10 years, things we're buying every single day. This is directly in line with modern consumer trends for less packaging. If you think about or hear about the plastic crisis, that's well, what is the plastic crisis? Well, it's the food packaging crisis, right? So if you look in your trash can at home, it's food packaging. So I just got back from a several-week trip to Europe for work. France, for example, will be selling 20% of their food in bulk by 2030, or else major fines will be faced by the retailer. So it's like major, when you see the intersection of consumer demand and government action, as well as a better business model, I think there's a great opportunity there. Just kind of showing you there's some room for innovation in how we're selling things, especially with food. So the product. The opportunity for the retailer is one, the product now, instead of having all these packages going on a shelf, there's a giant cartridge. It's this giant cardboard box. You slide it in the dispenser, and that's where you get those supply chain and store operational efficiencies. And then in doing that, all the product kind of sit on top of a load cell, which is just a sensor that's able to track how much product is there. And then with that data stream, we're able to automate supply chain store operations by sending grocers or brands up-to-date information on what's going on in their stores. This is an outcome of one of the pilots we did. We've applied the numbers throughout if they expanded through more of their stores. This particular chain does 140 million currently in bulk. Experiences a lot of shrink. We brought that shrink down to 2% from 8.5%. Major savings just from that category. But really, if you were to look at the numbers, the most meaningful thing to the retailer is reducing labor. So this is where we've been in the last year. I just got back actually from Switzerland, meeting with Nestle. We already piloted with them here in San Francisco, where they had their innovation office, and then that ended in a lot more business. HEB is a major chain out of Texas. Also went great. An interesting thing from that pilot is we actually 20% of our sales is the back end for online fulfillment, just because they can make twice as much money selling through us versus prepackaged. So if you think about the Instacart model, that's what the back end for them was. And then we're really just waiting on growing our inventory to be able to fulfill the outstanding demand. This kind of goes to our revenue model. I don't know how much I'll be able to get into it, but basically we're selling consumables. The cartridge that I talked about, that's actually our largest revenue stream. You can think of us as a packaging company. We're supplying the packaging to brands. And then for a company like Nestle, for example, they have no idea what they should be putting in their packages right now. Should you do 100 grams or 125 grams in a city versus like in a town where you have bigger families? They're just making these packaging decisions up right now with very little information. We're basically a data machine is what you can think of this as. That's kind of what our software right now, if you pull up our web app, looks like. It's a huge market. Yeah, so we're going to be doing about a $15 million Series A. We might actually not have to do it because it's a long story. If you want to learn more, you're welcome to. Yeah. So we got a few strategic partners, which we don't have. We actually turned this into a software company, which is great. So.
Okay, thank you, David.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I have a million questions. Okay, so how do you make money? Just selling the device, or?
No. We make no revenue on the actual hardware sale. So we get the hardware in the stores kind of at cost, and then the consumable, the cartridge, each store uses at least 10,000 a year, and we're making about $1 per cartridge per store. We have 32,000 grocery stores in the United States, so that's.
So sorry, back up. What's a cartridge? What do you mean?
It's a cardboard box that holds. It's a new packaging.
Okay.
It's replacing the plastic.
So instead of a bunch of boxes of Puffins, I think you had in that.
Exactly.
You get one large thing.
Yeah.
And then you charge them on per large thing. Basically.
Yes. They're buying the cartridges, the boxes, the packaging from us.
Okay, like Juicero, where you would sell the cartridge.
Yeah, but a little different. You actually have to have the cartridge. In this
Yes. So it's then volume based. So the volume that goes through that, you're making more money as more volume goes through these containers that they've stuck in their store.
Correct. So we have 4 revenue streams and 3 profitable streams. So where we're making that's where we're making most of the money. The other 2 places are there's a subscription from the retailer for all that automated inventory, automated discount cycles based off a shelf. It's kind of there's so many parts of this business, so many stakeholders.
Okay, so let me step back.
Minutes.
So normally, what's a box of cereal cost? $4.
Yeah.
How much do you make when they sell the same volume how much would you make if you sold the same volume in a $4 box of cereal?
We have to back up a little bit. So you'd have to say, what is the value add per SKU? So if a grocery store was to convert that shelf space.
How about if I sold $1 million of bulk goods through a store? How much would you guys make?
Well, I can tell you what.
Ish.
That's not how our rev. You'd have to sit down and look at there's so many places. It's not that you can't simplify it down to that level.
Just trying to get a take rate of gross merchandise value versus.
You're going to be making over $50,000 a store.
And what's their GMV per store?
No idea.
50,000 over what period of time?
1 year.
Oh, I just have a question. I thought your France statistic was interesting. Where does the U.S. fall compared to that?
With bulk, well, I don't have all the numbers for all the U.S. One of the largest bulk fulfillment companies in the U.S. does about 100 million. Actually, they're not the largest. The retailers are so notoriously, close doors with their data. But I can tell you one chain with 450 stores does 140 million today in bulk.
Do you think America is going to put in any restrictions or regulations on bulk?
Oh, it's per count. Yes, it's already coming through.
It's
on the books in California. We've already banned plastic straws, bags, and package. It's following Europe. Europe is already there. And so, Aldi owns Trader Joe's. They have 10,000 stores versus Whole Foods, which has 500, and they're I just got back from their headquarters in Germany. It was they can't get their hands on this fast enough because they're reacting to what's happening in the market and well, how do we sell stuff now that we can't sell stuff in plastic? It still makes money, right? When you're working on a 1 to 4% margin in business, you can't have an added packaging cost or else the whole thing falls apart. So that's why we've been overwhelmed with interest in it's basically one of the largest hardware manufacturers of retail scales and packaging equipment is now taking over they're taking a 10% stake in the company, and then we don't have to do anything except build software. So it's a great opportunity for us.
How will you accomplish the FDA labels, the things that walk
We don't
away?
have to, so the cartridges, so all of the food contact surfaces are actually consumable pieces, like the cartridge, the box. That's a company called Smurfit Kappa, they're one of the largest corrugators in the world. They are certifying, they're food safe certified, so we don't have to.
Maybe I didn't ask the question right. The consumer who wants to see the calories, the vitamin D.
Oh, it's all printed out on the same as a prepackaged product. It's all printed out as soon as you take it. It prints out the code with all that.
And how does the brand win in this environment when they don't have this?
Because they're
Realistic.
making so much more money than they ever have on each sale.
How?
Their packaging costs are dropping through the floor.
So it's like
you're getting
20% packaging costs. There's a bunch of stuff there is like advertising and other stuff.
yeah. So
So like actually the
about
box.
about 30% of the cost of what you're paying for at the source of packaging.
Yeah.
And then when you think about the supply chains that's attributed with that, they're out operating about 50% efficiency. So they're getting 100% supply, 90-something% supply chain efficiencies. You drastically reduce packaging costs. It's hard, like what packaging we're talking. Coffee's higher cost packaging, wine. So what are we talking about? But yeah, average 30%. Is what you buy as packaging. We're dropping that to the floor. So it's a huge opportunity for brands. And then the big thing for brands, like one of the past weeks recently, they changed the names to digital display, so you get feedback on their messaging. They changed it from Soy Crunch to Protein Bites. Went through the roof. And they applied that throughout their.
And how's the store make more money? Sorry, I missed that last part.
The store doesn't have labor costs anymore, and it's double the margins. 80% less labor, and they double the margins on sales. So everything they sell through us versus prepackaged, they're making twice as much money due to the efficiencies of the supply chain and all of the things we talked about. Yeah. So everybody we've talked to is they're buying tons more units. Yeah.
Lots of questions, but thank you so much. And let's give a big round of applause.